exciting.
But I've been chewing the gum, and I don't like the gum because it makes my jaw hurt.
All right.
So I was just told about these, and I like these very much because I don't want to smoke. I don't
exciting.
like smoking.
All right.
Smoking is
quitting?
bad. Hopefully,
Okay.
I don't like it. I'm done with it.
Let's be
I'm
over.
done with it.
You know what's good? Nicorette things.
Well, obviously, I haven't lost enough weight.
Can you just say your name and your outlet?
I'm Josh Brolin. I'm an Oldboy.
And I'm Brooke Blumberg with Film District.
Thank you.
Right on.
Anytime you're ready.
Okay, Josh. This is a crazy, twisted ride with unpredictable turns. Can you talk about what kind of drew you to the role?
Exactly what you just said. Crazy ride with unpredictable turns, which was very well put, even though it was written down. It is. It's just the unpredictability of something like this. You don't know how you're going to go about it. You can create some great scientific graph of how this person should behave in this situation, and then you do your research, and 90% of that research is not applicable when you finally get down to it. And Spike has his own ideas of, okay, let's turn this music on and I'll put an 11-minute mag on and you just go, and if you're naked, great, and if, maybe we'll put a mouse in the room and then deal with him, and you know what I mean? So it's like experimental theater in that way. You have a general blueprint of what you want to do, but with Spike, it's going to be fairly experimental, which is daunting and a lot of fun. The idea of it is a lot of fun. The executing of it is very strange, but the idea is fun.
But fun, maybe.
But fun.
You talked about preparing yourself for this role, and Adrian references the 5 stages of grief and what we all kind of feel responsible for as our actions. Who is Joseph Doucett, and how does he kind of resign himself to his imprisonment?
Well, I don't know who Joseph Doucett is. I don't think Joseph Doucett knows who Joseph Doucett is, and that's kind of the point of the film, is he's put in this, he comes across as a very selfish, self-centered guy who's put in this position with this makeshift prison to confront himself, and he's not let out until somebody else decides, but until he fully confronts himself. And I think when you're given a mirror and not able to turn away from it, it's interesting the stuff that manifests, and all the anger and resentment and shame and all that stuff that this plays with, and the insanity of him being in there, the loneliness of him being in there, and then actually finding some kind of escape in his head, and then that not working anymore. So he goes through every emotion there is to go through. That's interesting to me. I remember when just being a writer and going to prisons and talking to inmates and people who had been there for like credit card fraud and having 3 strikes and suddenly doing 20 years in prison. You go, how do you make that adjustment? How is that possible? So that was really informative to me. But I don't know, man. It's weird and it's morbid, but it's interesting to me.
You worked on this with a great ensemble cast. What was it like kind of creating the chemistry?
You don't create chemistry. You can act chemistry. You can act as if you like somebody. But it's much easier when there's just natural chemistry there. And with Elizabeth, there absolutely was. I wish we could have kind of delved into, if it had been a 30-minute longer film, we could have delved into that relationship more, only because I liked it. I think she's a phenomenal actress who I have a load of respect for, especially because of her age. She has these emotional depths that I don't know how she's able to do that at her age. But, and Charlton went for it, and, he did something very extreme, which I think was amazing. That's walking a razor's edge. And, yeah, I have a lot of respect for all the people that were involved.
Your intensity and conviction in the film is absolutely striking and raw. Could you easily walk away from that character after?
I couldn't wait to walk away from that character. That's the thing. Is like some people want to stay in that, and I appreciate that totally. And other people want to do what I do and just kind of like get as far away from it as possible. So I feel like there's something that you're delving into because then it hits you harder. For me, So if I'm popping out of a trunk or whatever that is, conceptually you have an idea of how you want it to be, but then when you're in it and the thing is closed and you're inside and you hear rolling and you're like, what am I going to do? Is this, and you just try and you make that switch and hope that it's as real as possible, as embarrassing as it may feel. So I try to have as good a time as I can, so I'm as affected as an actor in the story as hopefully the audience is watching the movie.
I know you and Spike have been we're trying to figure out what you guys were working on together, and it ended up being this. How was it working with Spike, and why was it this project you guys chose?
I think just because of the extremes of the project. I mean, it's behaviorally, it's the craziest thing we could possibly do together. And I love him, and I love the extremes of his personality, and I think vice versa. We couldn't wait to find a project together. So it could have been, the story of Mickey Mouse, and I'm sure we would have done it, but it was this. It would have been fucked up. But it would, it was just. It just seemed right. When we got together, when we were both presented with this, we got together and we just started kind of riffing on what it could possibly be, and it just seemed right.
I know you mentioned while having fun, having to be in, whether it's a trunk or whatnot, but was there a particularly challenging scene that you had to film?
Everything was challenging in a very different way, and I don't mean to generalize it, but the makeshift motel was extremely challenging just because it was exposing physically and emotionally, and that was kind of not new, but just to that extent I think was new. And then Spike would put an 11-minute mag in and just play a certain song over the loudspeaker and then just let me go, which is really unnerving. Because, you have a crew sitting there going, oh, this is so dumb, or whatever, or, wow, this is, compelling, and you don't know because you're off on your own, you're on your own planet. And I think physically the fight was tough for me. I think I'm still, and I'm not joking, I'm still like reaping the benefits, if you will, of that. I still have muscles that haven't bounced back, and it's been a year. So I pushed it. I was willing to push it, and mostly because of Spike.
Right. To that, how did you train to become a fighting machine?
Waking up really early, working out. I panic is what it was, because I was smoking, and I stopped because I just couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do it. So I got in probably the best health and best shape I've ever been in my life. That was the only way I could have done it. 44-year-old guy trying to be 25, It was stupid.
What was it like filming those fight scenes and the stylish kind of vision that you guys thought up together?
It wasn't even though I know it's exaggerated and fighting, 35 guys or whatever. All I know is that the fight was long enough for the guys that I fought on the top level were able to leave, dress up in different wardrobe, and be the guys that I met on the bottom level. So when that became a reality, I thought, what am I doing here? It's a long fight. I don't know how it ended up in the final film because I haven't seen it, but it's a very long fight and something that in the beginning I really wasn't sure I could pull off. I mean, I was almost positive I couldn't pull off and needed a stunt double for, but ultimately we pulled it off.
I think you killed it.
Thanks.
If you were locked up for 20 years, what is the first thing you'd do when you get out?
You can't even, I heard a great story by Damien Echols, who was very sweet to talk to me, and he was locked up in solitary for 19 years, and he said the first thing he did was touch grass and start crying. And I don't mean to be morbid about it, but that was his very visceral experience, which comes out of this. When I grab the grass and put it to my face, that's a direct influence of Damien Echols. That's my honor to him.
Hold on, you gonna ask another question?
I'm gonna ask 2 more questions.
No, I gotta switch cards.
Okay,
so you don't roll out.
sorry.
No problem.
I'm tied to